So November is Small Business Month.
It
November
is.
30th is Shop Small Business. It's Saturday right after Thanksgiving. Now, in light of that, let's talk about small businesses and their impact to the community. Like, why even small businesses?
You know what? I think we as a community, as a nation, have really gained this interest in big businesses. We were looking for the Walmarts and the Targets and the Home Depots, and we've gotten away from the small businesses like Ace Hardware. That was a store that I went to when we were growing up. It was a local store, but it felt local, felt home. It felt like it wasn't as big as the other ones. But why shop small business? Because it really supports the economy. I think getting down to it, that's why I think we should shop small business.
I mean, I agree because I think, sometimes we just overlook it because when you look at either what's in the news or what's happening on Wall Street, they're not talking about small businesses.
No.
I mean, they're talking about big businesses,
Yeah.
and you're just constantly hearing it. But
Yes.
when you actually look at the stats, like I was looking at the stats, over the past 2 weeks. I mean, literally 46% of all the people who are employed in the U.S. are employed by a small business.
Yes, and I think that's a huge thing. I mean, imagine the entrepreneur in your community wants to open up a business. They go down the street, they find a location, they open up a business based on their passion. They're hiring their friends or people in the community, and they're supporting that community. People know they wake up, they go there for coffee, they go there for lunch, and it becomes a family based around this small business.
No, I think that is true because, I mean, if you think about it, even from that numbers aspect, like you said, the small businesses, they're employing the people in the community. I mean, when you think about it, if the small businesses, all the small businesses in your community shut down, based on the numbers, half the people in your community would no longer have a job.
I know, that's amazing, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. And the thing about it as well is that what happens is you go and you shop a small business, whether a restaurant or a dry cleaners or a gas station or wherever it is, and that money turns in the community. It goes from that restaurant to the gas station, from the gas station to the dry cleaners, to the barber shops or beauty salons or whatever it is, back again into the restaurants and the other Main Street stores. If you go to a big business, you take that dollar to Home Depot, it goes to Home Depot's headquarters and then into somebody's pockets in a different state and in a different location. So shopping small business really keeps that money in the community.
I think that's an important thing because it really does help keep that community alive. I mean, like I find it interesting, like when my wife and I lived in Cincinnati, and when you drive down, I guess, the little downtown area where we live, to where you could tell, like, man, there used to be a lot going on here.
Yes.
Now it looks dead, and when it looked dead, the housing values went down. So it's just like, man, when the businesses left, not only did they stop having a business, but the prices of the homes went down. So people who were banking on, like, hey, when I retire, I'm gonna sell my house and move. Now it's just like, you might not be able to do
Exactly.
that.
Now you're out of luck. Now you're out of luck. And keeping those businesses alive keeps the tax income up in that city or that community or municipality. So if people take their money from the small business to the big stores, then, like, as you said, the main streets die and the tax income goes away. So now the only thing is real estate taxes, and then your real estate taxes start to increase. And now you really are in trouble with the price of your home. So shopping small businesses helps the community. It helps everyone with jobs and tax revenue.
And to be clear, okay, small businesses, because different people have their definition about what is a small business. Like,
That's a good point.
What do you consider to be a small business? Like, what's the size, what's the revenue, or the employee size? Like, how do you categorize that?
For me, I don't look at it in money because I believe that small businesses are anything less than $5 million in revenue or somewhere around that range. But I look at it as, what are your Main Street businesses? What are the businesses that you need to keep a community alive? And I mentioned them before. The dry cleaners is one, the gas stations are another, your local convenience stores, even grocery stores. That necessity of the community can be a small business. But look at it. anything that Walmart's gotten into, they've cut out all the small businesses. I mean, just imagine it, all of the different things that you would do if you want to go and get your car repair shop. It's in there. The grocery store is in there. The local clothing store. All of those stores could be owned by small businesses, but Walmart has gathered them up and made one big box shop. And I'm not trying to talk negative against Walmart. I'm just saying that that takes away all the other opportunities and all the other small businesses.
Okay. Now, when I think about our immediate community, I mean, in the city of Charlotte, I mean, and Charlotte's probably typical of like many other cities, to where Charlotte is surrounded by other small townships or other small city limits.
Yes.
And in each of those city limits, I mean, there are people that live there, and there are local businesses there.
Yes.
I mean, it's just as you start seeing like that scale of, hey, big businesses are moving in down the street or they're moving out, then it's just like, if there are no small businesses there in some of those small towns, it's like, where are the people going to work?
Exactly. So they end up going to the next biggest city and finding work there. Like, you have a lot of people commuting from, Fort Mill in South Carolina all the way to Charlotte for work, whether they're working at a big corporate office or just a restaurant or a business there. So if there aren't any businesses or even small businesses, then people have to find work. So then they travel and they go out farther and farther away.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that becomes very interesting when you, like, say, you look at a community, and it always strikes me whenever, like, even when I was driving up to, when we went to Notre Dame, and just driving through some of the small towns where you can see, like, man, there used to be stuff going on here.
Yes.
Now it just looks like a ghost town.
But you know, one of the things that makes small businesses great as well is that now the small business really identifies the culture of the community. Like, imagine going to New Orleans and having the Cajun food or the beignets, or you go to the Southern and you get the barbecue, or you get the good Southern home cooked meal with the macaroni and cheese and all of that. Like, those are things that make each community, each area different because it's based in a small business. Like Midnight Diner. What would Charlotte be without Midnight Diner? Like, let's be real. I mean, that's a part of Charlotte. It's a small business that, as a Charlottean, as a traveler, you have to try it because that's a staple of the community. And those are the small businesses all around the country that makes and identifies that city.
No, I think that's so true. I mean, 'cause, I imagine, like, I haven't been to New Orleans yet, but I imagine if I showed up to New Orleans and they no longer had any of the Cajun restaurants, the local feel there where you go to New Orleans and it looks like New York City, you'd be like, something's not right.
Right, why go there? Yeah. Like, you're going there to experience the culture. You're going there to be on Bourbon Street. You're going there to try the food. You're going there to see what it's like to live there. And that's what those local businesses offer and provide. And that's one of the things, that's why we're encouraging people to shop small businesses. Let's continue to keep the small businesses alive. Let's let them know that we need them, we appreciate them, and without them, we wouldn't know where it would be. Because you can go and if you got Chick-fil-A everywhere, why go? Like, I can get Chick-fil-A up the street. I can get whatever other restaurant or store up the street. I'm traveling to experience what you all have.
Yeah, and I felt the same way when I was visiting New York. So my best friend and I, we were up in New York, and we were going to visit a friend in Brooklyn. Like, we were staying in Manhattan. So when you're in Wall Street, it's completely different. When we were down in Wall Street, absolutely tourist-like.
Yes.
And then so we're going around like, oh, okay, this is okay experience. But then when we took the train and we came into Brooklyn, when we came out of the tunnel in Brooklyn, I was like, wow, I feel like I'm in a completely different city.
Yes.
And like I said, to your point, I mean, it does add that culture and that feel to, like, man, I like the vibe. I mean, Manhattan is good, but hey, I like the vibe of Brooklyn.
Exactly, and that's what makes America so diverse, is that there's so many different places. You have the Midwest, you have the South, you have the Northeast, and then the West, and then the Southwest, which is completely different. And small businesses bring that. They actually thrive on that different culture.
Mm-hmm.
So you go into Brooklyn and it's a different feel. People wearing the caps and they're kind of walking around in the streets. And then in Manhattan, it's the business suit and everyone's walking like they have somewhere to go, because it's the heartbeat of New York. But it's different when you go to the different boroughs. And that's the same thing with going to Florida and being in Miami. Southern Florida and Florida are two totally different things, but it's because of that culture that the small businesses thrive on. So that's why we're saying shop small businesses.
Yes, I will say, I mean, if you like the culture in your community, I mean, the businesses in that community, as you were saying, they help bring and help sustain that culture. Like,
Yes.
I couldn't imagine, going to Puerto Rico and you go to like the famous street in Puerto Rico and you're just inundated by all these international business. It just wouldn't feel
It doesn't
the same.
fit, right,
And
exactly.
it's just like, if you really like that, like, hey, I like the vibe that's here, part of sustaining that is going to be supporting those small businesses.
Yes, and then think about this. Viva Chicken started in Charlotte.
Yeah.
It's growing in Charlotte, and now they're starting to branch out to other places in the country. But it was a Charlotte small business that's growing to be now this franchise business, and that is a great story. That is what every small business hopes to do. But it's another thing to be proud of, to be from Charlotte and say, yeah, Viva Chicken started here, and everyone loves Viva Chicken. Shout out to Viva Chicken. But it was a small business, and it's growing because it had a niche, it found that market, and everyone in the community continued to support it, and now look at where it's going.
Yeah, and I also think to that point, anyone who's looking to start a business, I mean, it may be a bit intimidating because you look at all these other big businesses out there and you're like, hey, why would I even start one? And I think it's for those same reasons. Like, it helps preserve the culture of your community. Plus, small businesses employ almost half of the people in the country. So,
Yes.
I mean, if small businesses didn't exist there, then you can say 4 out of 10 people wouldn't have a job.
Yes.
I mean, and that is a very, very big impact to
It
your
is.
community. I mean, because I would say that also, to your point, on the taxes, whereas if the businesses aren't there to pay taxes in that community, then that community either is going to go without some of the amenities or the benefits, or
Yes.
it's going to impact on your real estate taxes that you pay.
Yes.
Because in Cincinnati, one of the big things that we had is like when you move into Cincinnati, you have your property taxes, you have your state taxes, the federal taxes, and you also had your local like city taxes.
Yes.
I mean, and I think part of that was because of that they're trying to find ways to bring more revenue in to try to help bring the city alive. Whereas if they had more thriving small businesses in the city, probably may not have to pay that.
Exactly, and that's a great point. So going back to what we said earlier, if you come in and you sit down at a local diner in your community and you order breakfast, and then that money goes into the till, that money then goes to the state, to the local community for the taxes. It goes to pay the employees while they're there, and then it goes to pay for all of the other local services for the businesses, the food, the lights, and everything else. And then that employee goes home and then they go to another local restaurant and they order food. Or they go and they put gas in their car, or they go and buy groceries. So that money that continues to turn in the community helps to keep that community alive and thrive. And it's important that we focus on our small businesses, or at least have an intentional effort to support the small businesses so we can keep our tax revenue down. It's great to go to the big box shop. But if your taxes keep going up because they keep taking the money somewhere else, then why? Then what's the benefit? And like, what's the growth out of that? So
yeah, and I gotta say, in all honesty, I don't support small businesses as much as I could.
Yes.
Because it is very easy, especially with Amazon. It is so easy to just
That's
pull
a
out
great
my
point.
phone at that one click and like, all right, you know what? I need a yellow T-shirt. I could go down the street, or hey, I need a rug. There is a rug shop right down the street. But Amazon looks a little bit easier.
Yes, and that's I know it's hard. It's hard. I do the same thing. And imagine working in Uptown and walking through Overstreet Mall, and I was thinking the other day, oh, I really need some socks. for whatever reason. Walking down Overstreet, there's several different stores there where I could walk in and buy socks. Did I? No. Why? Because in the back of my mind, socks meant, oh, I need to go to Target, or I need to go to Banana Republic, or I need to make a stop at the mall. So being intentional and saying, I need to support small businesses, you would force yourself to stop and buy the socks then and there, rather than putting it in the Rolodex to now go and make a big trip out of it on the weekend to the mall or to the Target from near my house. So it has to be intentional. And Amazon just makes it so easy. Like legit, you can press a button whenever you're thinking about it too, whether it's in the morning, at night, in the car, wherever you are, you can buy whatever you need. And that's unfortunate because it now is making it harder for people to go to small businesses because it makes it so easy to do it from your phone.
Yeah, I think that is a very, which is why, like I said, later this month, we're definitely going to have a deeper conversation about that.
Yes.
I think part of the question then that leads into is, okay, since you have all this other competition, and because small businesses aren't top of mind for people, is can small businesses still compete in this environment?
And I think that's a great conversation to have. It is a really good conversation because, as you said, we need them. They employ 40% of the country, and they offer a lot of great benefits for the local community. But when you compare them against some of the other businesses, are they in a losing fight? Stay tuned for that conversation.
Will be a good one. So make sure you check out the next conversation where we're going to talk about can small businesses compete. We're also going to find out which one of us actually really supports small businesses and which one of us is the hater. So stay tuned.